The midnight camisine, the storm without rain that brought the darkness of night at midday. The Bedou spoke feelingly of a sky black at midday, of wind too strong to stand against, of air so thick with dust and grit you could not breathe, of a storm full of sand like millions of minuscule knives that flayed clothing from the body and flesh from bone, and packed every open orifice with wind-driven dirt. Get in the shelter of a rock or a dune, and you might survive, if you could get a clear space for your face, breathe through cloth, and manage to keep from being buried alive. There was no sign of such a storm. The thin, clear light and the cloudless sky held nothing but peace. Charon did not trust the promise of such peace. He trusted Caliph. Caliph was, without a doubt, God-touched. Had he not led them all here, to the once-buried city of legend they now called Sanctuary? If he said such a storm would blow up, Charon would believe him. Certainly the Veiled Ones did. Those within the area of the storm had either taken themselves out of its path or moved into the city, little though they liked living within walls even a single day. Charon nodded to himself as he looked out over a city that seemed very strange to the eyes of one accustomed to the straight, clean lines of the buildings of Alta and Tia. Once Caliph, then Prince Caliph, had been nothing more than the quiet, studious twin brother of the more charismatic Prince Toreth. True, he, with Toreth, was one of the 4 designated heirs to the thrones of Alta, but until Toreth had been murdered, he had been something of a cipher to most. Well, he certainly wasn't a cipher now. A winged one of Alta, in truth, and a priest of Haras of Tia. He spoke for the gods of both peoples. Gods which were, Charon was coming to understand, one and the same. Or at least there was so little difference it mattered not at all. Caliph was accepted by the Veiled Ones, the wanderers of the desert, the blue people, as a seer, a hand of the gods and a mouth of the people as well. And if Charon only had an imperfect understanding of what that meant, well, he knew it was a position of great respect, and that was enough for him. As the city slumbered under the clear, pre-dawn sky, Sanctuary hardly looked like a city at all, more like a collection of squared-off mounds, very like wind-sculpted, sand-polished mastabas, nearly the same color as the sand around them. Hardly surprising no one had found it until Caliph led the Veiled Ones to it. Even if it had not been buried beneath the dunes, when Charon thought of a city, he thought of nothing at all like this. To his mind, the word city called up the image of the tall, angular sandstone or granite edifices of Memphis, the capital of Tia, carved and painted with images of the gods and great kings, reaching 5, 6, 10 times the height of a man. Or the city of his slave days, the mud-brick, 2-storied, mathematically laid-out buildings along the narrow streets where ordinary folk dwelled. Or possibly the white-columned, long, low buildings of Alta, reflected in the shining surfaces of her 7 ring-shaped canals. He did not think of buildings the color of sand, with rounded corners and edges, walls as thick as a man's arm was long, and scarcely an opening to be seen anywhere. But that was because the buildings of Sanctuary were armored against the blistering desert heat by the thickness of their stone walls, and against the sandstorm by their curves. Not even the dragons, much as they reveled in heat, spent more time in the sun than they could help, once the great disk had reached past the point of mid-morning. Some of the buildings, in fact, were mere antechambers into a labyrinth of rooms carved out of the rock bed beneath the sand, a network of man-made caves which all connected eventually to that most precious of desert treasures, the water source that lay at the heart of Sanctuary itself. Water. Water was the reason for anything made by man in the desert. Men sought for it, fought over it, bartered what was most precious to them for it, killed and died for it, and for lack of it. And yet here, though long years gone, and until the gods permitted it to be found again, was a kingdom's ransom of the precious stuff. Beneath the sand, beneath the rock that lay beneath the sand, there flowed a river of the purest water, a quiet, steady stream, clear and